What were you saying, Manny?
I was going to say, did you experience up north the high winds on Monday?
Yes, we had high winds. I was all over the Bay Area on Monday from the Monterey area all the way to the San Francisco area, and there were high winds everywhere, and
Yeah.
and all kinds of leaves on the ground to prove it. So yeah. So last call, October 1st, I really want to jump in and talk about this. We did a business planning call, and that call is available on our YouTube channel. For everybody to re-watch. If you need the business plan workbook, I can get Gina to post it right here one more time in the chat. I'm also going to post her her email address. If you are not on the email list for this call that happens twice a month, then feel free to email Gina and she will add your name to the email list. So, and all the email is saying, you know, we got another call coming up, but if you just put it in your calendar first and third with the link, we're always going to be on here. But if you get the email, then there's a bunch of attachments in the email, links to amazing sales skills, PDFs, scripts, business plan workbooks, top 50 workbooks, things like that to help improve your business. So I want you to use those. They're compliments of the coaching company that I coach for. And it has nothing to do with any company. It's completely company agnostic. I like to remind people this call is free to anyone from any company, from any walk of life. We don't recruit on this call and we don't sell anything on this call. The only time I let somebody tell about their products is if they're a guest speaker. So I want to make sure you guys all know that. So what I wanted to talk about really quickly is we just went through the business plan workbook, and this is a very, very important time of the year to be doing your business plan workbook. Here's why I say that. If you go through the 1 hour call that I did on Friday, October 1st, the first Friday of the month, you will have a really great idea and mindset about how to execute that business plan workbook. Yes, and she will, Gina will get that on Ranae before she jumps off the call. Put the link. It's if you are, well, Ranae, I think you're on the email list, aren't you, for this? Do you get the emails?
I am, and I wasn't able to open the hyperlink.
Oh, for the business plan workbook?
For the business plan.
In the very bottom of that email? Okay, that's something I'll check out myself. So anyway, so the reason I say that is this. This is the time, I'm going to be sarcastic, of Frozen. And what do I mean by that? This is the time of the year when people start to realize, I'm a little tired. You know, I worked pretty hard this year, or I'm a little tired from the emotions of the year, or I'm a little tired from how much I beat up on myself this time during the year. And all of these things are legitimate, actually feelings that stop you from being as amazing as you can be in the fourth quarter. Now, here's a reason why I say this. My wife loves fall. She likes to cuddle up in warm clothes. She loves the first rain of the season because that's her excuse to stay home and do nothing. And I'm more of a warm weather fan, right? I like it to stay warm. I like it when I can go to sleep with the windows open and the fan going and the air conditioning on and all of those things. But what I realize is that I'm, as a real estate agent, fighting with the mindset of the client and the mindset, the consumer, basically, the client, the consumer, and the mindset of me and my fellow agents. And it is a mindset of slow down, no matter what you think. People slow down it used to be around Labor Day because they were going to put the kids back in school. Now kids are starting in early to mid-August, but still it tends to be a little slowdown between mid-August and mid-September, no matter where you are. And then all of a sudden we said, oh, inventory was growing. Well, then all of a sudden inventory was shrinking, and oh my gosh. And We're seeing all different kinds of things instead of for almost a full solid year, almost one full solid year, the entire United States was experiencing low inventory, right? Now I'm hearing, because like I told you before, I talk to agents in every part of the United States and all over Canada. It's in flux. For instance, let's look at the Bay Area, for example, and I know most of you are not from the Bay Area, but I'm just going to use it as an example. When COVID really hit strong and the market took off from the West Bay, where all of the and the South Bay, where all of these major offices are, Facebook's major offices, Google's offices, Apple's offices, Tesla's offices, Oracle's offices, people started leaving those areas and selling their homes and moving to the East Bay and the Northeast Bay, where they could get more house for less money. Well, guess what's going on right now? Now everybody's moving back. Prices in San Francisco are up almost 25% from last year, because now San Francisco was where everybody was fleeing from. Now everybody's going back. Sunnyvale, California, Cupertino, California has had a real big onset of people making offers. I think I shared with you, we just made it, one of our buyer's agents made an offer on something. They offered 700,000 over asking, and they lost it to someone who made $1 million over asking. This is just a couple of weeks ago. You'll hear about those things in the news, but when it happens to you, you're like, what are you kidding me? I really thought my clients were going to get it this time. So you individually, me individually, need to know what's going on in our individual market where we are representing clients. And even if you're stuck right now with no client, no buyer, no seller, then you absolutely have to be thinking about bringing the knowledge that you have to the public to convince them that you're the person that they're going to use. It's as simple as that. I have to separate myself out. When I see what all the real estate agents do, even some of the stuff I do, meaning our team, I say, okay, other teams do that, but what do we do that's different? How do we set ourselves apart? Well, first you have to remember you're not setting yourself apart from the 2,000 other agents in your immediate area. You just have to set yourself apart from the other agents your clients may talk to. Problem is, you don't know who they're going to talk to. So yeah, it goes back to, wow, I got to really be good because I don't know which one they're going to pick to talk to besides me. And I got to be better than that, whatever that is. So being knowledgeable about your marketplace and the numbers in your marketplace and being enthusiastic about it, no matter what it means. That's the tough part. Being enthusiastic about it, no matter what it means. In other words, if I'm going to, I go back to 2007, 8, 9, 10, and I've shared with some of you this story about me being at a charity event that I was going to be emceeing. And when I'm emceeing an event, I usually get to the buffet table quicker because I want to eat and be done with that by the time I have to go up on stage. And then once you start emceeing an event, the speakers go up, they're all speaking for 10 or 12 minutes, then you got to run out, rebuild the energy if they lost the energy in the room, or keep the momentum going if they built up the energy in the room. So it's really no time to eat. And I think it was early 2008. I was honestly quite depressed as to what was happening. I owned 9 Keller Williams franchises at the time. There was a complete standstill in number of transactions coming through. The only people that brought transactions coming through were the guys that were doing REOs and short sales at a high level. And we were at Keller Williams, we were a capping commission base. So once they capped, they weren't giving the office anymore. So we had like situations where basically we were just not bringing in money and we were paying rent and salaries and all of this. Anyway, long story short, overall, I'm a little bit depressed, even though I don't like to let the people in the public know that. So I'm standing getting some food in the line at the charity event. And one of the politicians that always attends, and he's always really sarcastic, would say, "So Rick, how's the real estate market?" Like that, almost like in my face. And I said, and I had been teaching classes at the time to people around the country for Keller Williams. And I tell people, when someone asks you how's the real estate market, you always answer with the exact same word with lots of enthusiasm. You say, "It's unbelievable." So practicing what I preached, I looked at him and I said, which I really wanted to just smack him, but I said, "It's unbelievable." And he looked at me and he said, you're so full of it. It is not. It's horrible out there. And I said, really? Horrible to who? I said, it's horrible to sellers. Buyers are having the time of their life. I said, in most markets, one or the other is going to be happy and the other isn't going to be. I said, we just happen to be in a market. The majority of the country tends to rate the market based on how quick things sell rather than how much of an advantage it is to the buyer. I said, interest rates are good. Back then, good was, 7% or something, but, and there's plenty of inventory. So did I feel good about the market? No, I was losing money. My offices weren't doing well. I wasn't selling a lot of houses, but that's what I communicated. And when I walked away from that conversation, I heard him go, like that. Like maybe he had learned something new about a perspective or something. How can we do that on a daily basis? Not just to the consumer, but if we're doing it energetically, then people pick it up. That's why I love the business energy of business planning, right? When you get into that business plan workbook, hold on one second. Yep, Gina posted it. So when you get into that business plan workbook, by the way, when it's in the chat, just click on it. It'll open in your computer and then you've got it. You can save it later. But when you have that business energy of starting to fill it out and going through the mindset of filling it out and going through all the processes you go through where you're depressed and happy, and when it asks you a question, you tend to really beat up on yourself if you don't, if you look, when you're asking a question, you're thinking about what you've done in the last year. You always just want to be thinking forward when you're doing a business plan workbook. You want to be thinking about, well, it doesn't matter what I've done in the past. What matters is what I change now to do differently in the future. So with that business energy, you start hitting the world a little bit more enthusiastically. And, like today, I didn't really get that much sleep last night. I got like 6 hours, but I got up early. I had to shower and get on a Zoom and watch some videos and do some things. And even though I probably might feel like I want to take a nap later on the day, I feel pretty darn energized right now. And that's what happens when you do what you said you do. That's all. Forget the world for a minute. Just do what you told yourself that you were going to do to move you further in the direction of your dreams and goals. That's all. One thing. My son and his girlfriend spent the night here last night because they're going to babysit our dog for a day or two. And I left my toothbrush in there. So I said, okay, I can do everything but brush my teeth because that's in there. I'll do that later. In other words, everything became a process this morning, pretty much like most of my mornings. But people say, oh, okay, the book said that I should get up really early. My wife and I read many years ago, Miracle Morning, okay, by Hal Elrod. Any of you guys ever read that, Miracle Morning? Now he's got Miracle Morning for the Real Estate Agent, Miracle Morning. Well, the guy that wrote the book was a Cutco salesman. Hal Elrod. He was like a top Cutco salesman. But if you read the book, the first one, the first draft and everything, you would have thought it was written for real estate agents. So for a while, because of that book, my wife's like, let's get up at 4:30 in the morning and read. And I'm like, well, after about like a month of this, we were both exhausted. And I'm like, okay, maybe we just do the same thing, but we start later in the day. Let's get up at 7 and do the same things, right? So we moved it from getting up at 4:30 to getting up at 6:30. We started adding, and most of you I've shared this with before, is Dr. Joe Dispenza doing meditation. First, we were just doing it in the morning. Now we're not always, but we want to also do it at night, right before we go to bed, because it winds you down and allows you to be grateful for your day rather than, thinking about all the things you didn't do. So what are you doing to get rid of your demons is my big question. What are you doing to get rid of your demons? The crap that slows you down, the crap that stops you from doing the things you know you're capable of doing. You all know them, and it doesn't matter if you think other people know them, only you. You're going to twist and turn and rationalize. And the only reason I say you is because I know that's what I do, right? So for the majority of us, it's going to be very important that we find a way so that right now, when the market is in flux, okay, I told on our daily huddle on Wednesday, I told my team, I said, there's a guy out there. And for the sake of this call, I'm just going to say his name's David. I'm not going to tell anybody his last name. And Shauna, who's on the call, and I have been friends for over 20 years, and she's been in the real estate industry with me, and she knows most of the people I talk about, but David's not a really super nice guy. David's the kind of guy, I'm not like that, but I've met a few agents that are like that, that doesn't want to sell houses in his own neighborhood because he doesn't want to have to talk to people about real estate when he comes home to see his family, right? So he like me, if my neighbor lists their house and has some other sign out there, I want to kill myself for not being the guy that got that listing. But David, no, he loves it when a different sign goes up in the lawns of his neighbor because he doesn't have to talk to this neighbor. Like he gets to come home and just be David to his family. But David goes out between September 1st and January 1st, almost every year, knocks on 10,000 doors. 10,000. Do the math, 2,500 a month. And you know what? Again, he's just consistent. And a buddy of mine who really taught me the art of door knocking many, many, many years ago in the late 80s said, you don't have to be good, you just have to be there. And back when I first heard him say that, I go, I don't know if I know what you mean. He goes, there, you knock on the door, you say, my name's Rick, I'm with Century 21. I'm in your neighborhood because I know this neighborhood very well to see if you have any real estate needs, either selling your home or buying another home. And he said, you will not believe when you've done thousands of doors, how many times you can tell people that the person that answered the door said, did my uncle tell you to come by here? Because we were just talking last night about selling the house. And that's the kind of thing that happens. And it doesn't happen for any other reason than statistics, right? And another buddy of mine who's trying to really do well at this point in his career says, I want to blow away the laws of probability. So everybody creates a little saying for themselves. Tom says, I want to blow away the laws of probability. I'm going to knock on doors and get more leads than anybody's ever gotten with less doors. Blow away the laws of probability, right? So I'm sure you don't get on this call because you need another friend. I think you get on this call when you do, or any other call or any other attempt to learn something new to take your business to another level, is to be reminded about things in some cases. And I'd love for you guys to be honest. How many of you on some of the things I've said today already knew it, but you loved hearing the reminder? Anyone? Yeah, a lot of you. So you're saying, okay, I'm getting reminded that I am capable of so much more. So when I do these calls, the reason I like doing them, and just my schedule got too busy to do them every Friday, but we're still doing them the first and third Fridays, is I'm giving myself a pep talk, not you. You just happen to be listening, but the pep talk is for me, because none of us are above what I said. None of us are above our demons. We all have them. We're going to struggle with them. But man, I need it, right? Like I want to break through this. I have, if you're getting a lot of leads from one lead source, you have to ask yourself, what happens if that lead source went away? That's a good question, right? And that's something I'm struggling with right now in my own business. Like, okay, what will I do if that lead source goes away? Then what do I do? Well, it's not what will I do? It's what should I have been doing all this time, which is not putting all your eggs into one lead source basket. In the business plan workbook, we talk about your 4 pillars of income. Your 4 pillars, if you sat down and said, these are all the different ways I could lead generate, you could easily, even if you're new in the business, write down 25 different ways to lead generate. Okay. I can tell you hundreds of ways to lead generate, but the workbook wants you to pick 4 that, listen to this, each of the 4 will get you all of the number of sales that's in your goal. So if your goal is to sell 24 homes and you write down open houses, could you sell 24 homes in a year if you just did open houses? You absolutely could, and it's been done many times by many people. So what would you have to do? I'm going to go back to my buddy Tom. I took a listing in his neighborhood recently, and I said, hey, would you be willing to hold it open? And he said, sure. What time on Saturday and Sunday? I said, no, I want you to hold it open during the week. Now, Tom's been in real estate over 15 years. And he said, what? I said, yeah, it's vacant, Tom. It's across the street from the biggest park in the neighborhood, the one that everybody wants to walk by. It has pool, tennis courts, picnic areas. And then between 4 and 6, more people walk their dog around there than any other park in that city. And it was right across the street. And it's an area where all the houses are anywhere from 80 to 110 years old. And everybody wants to live there because they're all remodeled and fixed up. Guess who was the winning bid on that house? Tom was somebody he picked up at an open house on a weekday. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. You got to bust loose of all this. Well, I can hold open houses from 1 to 4. I had a buddy of mine the other day held 3 open houses for himself. Right? He literally did 9 to 11. Then he did one 11:30 to 1:30. Then he did one 2 to 5. All right. So say what you want, but man, if you got a vacant listing or know of a vacant listing, ask them if you can hold it open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Right? Put signs up around schools that lead back to that, or around shopping centers that lead back to that. Right? You don't go to the shop, you don't go grocery shopping with the word buy 4 chocolate bars on your, hardly anyone does. Look at anybody's list, it doesn't say buy 4 chocolate bars. But when you get in line to check out and there's chocolate bars right there, you just grab a few. It's the same thing. If you're going shopping and you see an open house sign, you're not like, I didn't go shopping to go to an open house sign, but you see the open house sign, you go, oh, I'm gonna go by there. That happens to me and my wife all the time. And not because we're in real estate, we're like, oh, I didn't have time to look at houses, but it's right there and it's on the way. So that's the idea, is that there's can be some things that you can change, and you've got to be doing those right this minute. As I look around who's on here, the majority of you that are on here right now are in warmer weather climate, meaning where your winters, you're not frozen over. Is anybody on here from Michigan or Minnesota or anything like that? I don't think so. I think most of us are Northern and Southern California today. So, oh wait, Raham's from Chicago, right? So you get that, where your ears freeze, right, when you go out door knocking. So you might want to be more careful about it. So Raham says, yes, my ears do freeze when I go out. So, but it's really interesting what we might do. In other words, people in real estate right now would rather send out a postcard or do a social media post or anything than they would talk to someone. When you talk to somebody, you risk rejection, right? That's the biggest problem, is what if they tell me to hang up? What if they tell me to go to hell? What if they tell me I'm going to file a restraining order on you if you don't stop calling me? Like, there's a million things that could happen. Man, this morning when I was going through some of my paperwork, I came across several leads that I hadn't checked in on. They were listing leads. And I said, okay, so I'm making a stack of those. And Leslie on our team today said, I feel like in the last week, people have gone really quiet on me. Well, guess what? They're going through what we're going through. They got things they're starting to think about. Gosh, do I have money to pay for Christmas gifts this year? Right? What's happening around Thanksgiving? What's going to happen with COVID and the mask mandates, right? And all of that. There's just so many questions for so many people, and you could be that voice of reason to them. You could be that voice that just says, hey, how are you? Just checking in. It's getting close to the end of the year. I want to tell you I'm grateful for you being in my life. Is there anything I can do for you? Anything you need? Like, just a conversation. And you don't have to know them that well. I used to say this in classes. I'd say, think about all the people in your phone, and I want you to do this for a minute. As you go through the phone and you look at a name, I want you to think of it this way. Is this a name that when I call, I can say, hi, it's me, and they know instantly who it is? Okay, so right now, somebody give me an example of someone you could call. Ranae, if you don't mind, maybe you be the volunteer. Who could name one person you could call? And I want to say this time, beside your mom, where you could just say, hi, it's me, and they know who you are.
Co-worker or manager.
Okay. All right. Who are we?
And I usually do that to my clients too. Like, hey, it's me. How's it going?
Yeah.
And I think it just builds like more of a personal relationship, even though I spoke to them maybe once.
Yeah.
And they tend to like loosen up and kind of be more relaxed with me.
Yeah. Okay. So now here's what else I want you to consider for a minute. Who's Now you have the person that if you say, hi, it's me. Now think about who you on your phone as you're going through your A's through the Z's. Which of the people would you have to say, hi, it's me, Rick? Now you say, it's me, Rick. Then they go, oh, it's Rick Jiha. I could tell by the voice because he said it's me, Rick, right? And then there's people, right? So it's just me. It's me, Rick. Hi, it's me, Rick Jiha. Now I have to say first and last name. What am I going through right there? I'm going through the levels of the relationship I have with the people that are in my phone, just simply in my phone or in my database or in my sphere of influence. Now, what about this? The next person on that list is, hi, it's me, Rick Jiha. We know each other from the charity function that we all attend. That's the next level, right? How well do you know them? Not very well. Not well enough for them to know you unless you identify with where they know you from. Right? Now, the last one that should be in your phone, or maybe there's two more, but the last one is, hi, it's me, Rick Jiha. I don't know if you recall, we met once a long time ago. No, I don't. Well, it was, right? That's a really low level of connection, but enough that you can remind them who you are and why you might be calling. And while I know we don't know each other hardly at all, you're in my phone and I wanted to call everybody in my phone and check on them during this very unusual time in our lives. How are you? Did you see that? I mean, really, did you hear that is what I meant. But so could you do that? Now, I want you guys to just yell something out and only do it if you're serious. Did any of you just now think of someone you might want to do that with and wondering why you haven't yet? Anyone? Okay. So this could start to create a difference. This is how momentum starts. Momentum doesn't start till you do. Action creates momentum, but not all activity is productivity. So when you think about that, now there might be one more level on your phone. Hi, my name's Rick Jiha, and I realize you're in my phone only because we did a transaction once and the iPhone saved your number into my phone. I said that recently, by the way. Because I had no idea. I was like, this person called me and I had to delineate as to whether or not, because now the iPhone has caller ID. So sometimes I don't even know the number, but it'll put up a name. But when I hung up, because if they're just putting up a caller ID, I realized it was in my phone and I knew that person. In other words, I didn't answer the phone. It went to voicemail. And I realized the phone number was actually in my phone. And so I called back and I said, oh, hi, I realize you're in my phone and you got put in my phone because of a transaction we did a long time ago and you were the escrow officer. Thanks for calling today. I haven't heard your voicemail yet, but I know you left one. How can I help you? Right. And then we ended up chatting. And at the end of it, I said, how are you holding up during these times? And she goes, that's very nice of you to ask. You know what I'm saying? It just turned into a conversation. By the way, do escrow and title officers know people who want to buy and sell houses? Oh, yeah, they do. They have a life. Right. I got 2 calls from escrow officers this week saying, hey, Rick, I see how busy you are out there in the market. Is there anything that we could do to earn some of your business? All right. Now, one of them said it in an entitled way. Like, why aren't we getting any of your business? She didn't say those words, but that's how it felt to me. The other one said, and she said it sarcastically, she knows me pretty well. She said, I know you have to keep all the girls happy, so you spread the wealth when it comes to your business. You give an escrow here, an escrow there, and I said, you know what? I really appreciate that you said that. And it's not so much about them being girls. It's about that I have lots and lots of relationships after 41 years in the business. And I want to continue to remind people that I care about our relationship. And sometimes the only way I can show that is to give them a transaction once in a while. So lots of conversations. I need to have more focused ones. In other words, I'm having reactionary conversations, meaning I'm responding to calls and texts versus, by the way, which is all of us do, fake work. It's called fake work. Sitting down and deciding who are you going to call that is strategic, that will help them and help you. Simple. Cindy and I, she's on this call, but she's also on my team. She's the lead buyer specialist. She probably knows me better than anybody outside of my personal family. And I said, you guys will probably want to get on the Friday coaching call because I'm rambunctious today and you have no idea what will come out of my mouth. And there's no notes here. This is not notes. I'm talking to you from my heart and soul because I'm experiencing what you're experiencing. But it doesn't matter how much I tell you, energetically, you're going to do as I do, not as I say. So, and I take that responsibility very seriously. Energetically, even though you might not see me for a week or 2 weeks, physically on the call, energetically, you're going to know if I'm full of shit or not. Is he really going to get off the phone today and make some calls to build his business? Yeah. I don't like thinking scarcity wise, guys. I think abundantly. There's plenty of business in the universe. I want Lorena to have tons of business. I know it's not going to affect me because I can also have tons of business. But sometimes, guess what? Like the last week, scarcity has snuck its little ass right into my head, and I don't like it. Because when your major lead source starts to slow down on delivering leads, you're like, I better get busy. Okay. And that happens to every single one of us. So I want you to be thinking about that as it relates to you and your business, certainly, but it's also going to relate to other parts of your life. You know, I had a couple of pieces of bread at lunch yesterday because this one restaurant I went to, man, their bread, they bring it warm and they have the butter. They put a plastic sheet under the bread and then they put frozen butter pads underneath it. So by the time it gets to you, the butter pads are starting to soften. Oh, I just took 2 pieces and smothered them in butter and ate them. And I'm like, I'm not even supposed to be having bread right now. Right. So then the dessert menu came and I said, sorry, I had bread, no dessert. So stop laughing at me, Lorena. So the whole thing is, Andre, I see that grin, and that grin is, oh, I've been there. So the whole thing is choices, 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 choices. And there's so many of them, but our job has to be to just prioritize them. Just prioritize them. That's all. And not necessarily by money or dollar productive activities, but what is the big rock in your life right now, today? Like maybe you have to mend a relationship. Maybe that's the highest priority, more than doing something that's going to create more business for you. But you got to decide that on a daily basis. And you do it, as I've said a million times before, by being hungry, humble, smart, and coachable. Part of the being smart and being coachable is that prioritization as to what's going to get my attention today. And as Verl, the head of Workman Success Systems, the company I coach for, says all the time, he says, look, the only difference between the agents that are most successful and the agents that are least successful is never about socioeconomic patterns, not about education, not about race or color or sexual orientation. It's just about one thing. And I love that. That's what equalizes this real estate business. It's about what activities you focus on in a day, period. Nothing else matters. And there isn't been one person in all the world who, when they focused on those activities, Gary Keller wrote the book, The One Thing, out of that. I used to teach a class for Keller Williams that they wrote called The One Thing. I would travel all over the US and Canada teaching that class. And the one thing was what? Lead generation. And the question that Gary would ask, this goes back to 2002, 2003, almost 20 years ago, would be, what is the one thing in, and in meant what part of your life? So in your relationship part of your life, or in your business part of your life, or in your physical part of your life, what is the one thing that if you did more of it, everything else would become easier or unnecessary? Best question ever. What is the one thing in your blank? So I'm going to say in your real estate business, what is the one thing you could do that if you did it more often, everything else would become easier or unnecessary? Now, I just asked that question of one of my coaching clients recently, and she said, hire an admin. Everything else would become easier or unnecessary. And it answered the question. The answer was yes, everything else would become easier or unnecessary. Well, why did she need the admin? Because she'd been lead generating so much, she had no more time to take care of the admin duties that she had been taking care of before. All right. What about your health? What is the one thing I could do that if I did it more often, everything else would become easier and necessary? You know, stop eating bread with loads of butter on it, Rick. All right. So, you know, I prioritize my relationships. Like nothing, this is again, something that Cindy knows more about me than almost anybody else, is that nothing makes me happier or more emotional than being around my kids. They're 35 and 32. You know, typically my dog gets watched by my in-laws, practically no one else. This case, the in-laws weren't going to be available. I knew about it 2 months ago. I asked Joe, my son, I said, could you and your girlfriend come and spend the night here, learn what we do overnight and in the morning, and then we're going to take off for 24 hours, basically, maybe 30 hours maximum we'll be gone. And we won't be very far away. We'll only be 40 minutes away, but we're not going to come and spend the night. And he said, sure. So having him around the house, it's just like the old days, like when I was his dad, when he was younger, and having him around the house. So I prioritized that I would spend time with him last night. I knew they were going to get here really late, and they love their late night snacks. So I literally baked some chicken thighs, cooked the way I know my son likes them. So when he got here at 9:30 and his girlfriend got here at 10, they were, you know, they made themselves a gin cocktail and sat and enjoyed chicken thighs. Nothing made me happier, right? Prioritization. What is it that's really going to light you up? But this morning I got up, I'm like, oh, back to work. I'm prioritizing work right now. So, all right. That's my message for today. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to make sure that you've got the workbook and that you go back, watch the video, and in the link of the email to these Friday coaching calls. I think you can even find them by just going on YouTube and typing in my name. Seriously, I think the YouTube channel is pretty easy to find, and it'll have the free Friday coaching call videos. But the one I'm happy with the one we did last week, because it was the whole hour and it was just on that workbook and the mindset and the things you need to do. So I'm going to ask you to go back. I'm going to ask you to get it done. You should have had a rough draft done by now, but if you don't, get your rough draft done by next Friday. And by the Friday after that, the weekend before Halloween, you can have your final copy done. Collaborate, find somebody else on these calls or someone else you know that does not benefit from your financial success, and make them oh, look, Gina put the YouTube link. Woo. Click on that, by the way. It'll open up in your computer and you can save it for after the call is over. But find an accountability partner who's not affected financially by what you do or don't do, meaning nobody that you sleep with or work with, or you know, that is benefiting from your financial gain, and just say, hold me accountable to this. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and we'll check in each week. Or let's work on our business plan together so that we'll get it done. And what I find is, like, I have a team, but I find that sometimes, since these are the same people you talk to all the time, sometimes even a team member from the same team isn't the best accountability partner. You'll decide what is, but don't go in the direction of what's easy, or go in the direction of what's more challenging, right? And remember this, when you hear the word accountability, most people kind of freak out. So if you change the word accountability in your head to awareness, it makes it a lot easier. I'm not holding you accountable. I'm holding you aware of what you said you do versus what you did. Did you get that? It reminds you. So, all right.
I popped on just really quick to say, you have the most incredible assistant ever.
Don't I?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, she's so cool. So cool. And she always looks like me on the calls, and that doesn't even deter me from knowing she's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love you both.
Love you, sweetheart.
Love you back.
And I've known her since she was 12, Cindy. So I've got to know that love for so long. So
Yeah, they're lucky.
yes. April, that's really well said. We hold you able, and I would even recommend you wake the word capable. I hold you capable of achieving your goals. So where are you, April? Oh, you're off camera somewhere. I don't even see your name on here. I'm lost. Okay. Well, she might have said that and left. I don't know. Oh, there she is. She is there. Okay,
I'm
good.
still here.
All right. Okay, well, thank you guys for being on. Any comments, suggestions, ahas, anything else?
Hey, Rick, this is Javier. Just quick question. I have in my notes, you mentioned fighting your demons. What do you do? I don't know, like something specific that you do to fight for all that negativity that we got every day?
Man, that is a really good question. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. So guess where negativity comes from? Not you. It's naturally occurring. I've heard statistics from scientists, from doctors, PhDs that say up to 87% of the thoughts you'll have in a day are naturally occurring negative thoughts. Okay. It's the same reason when Tony Robbins, that's a really good question, Javier. When Tony Robbins says people do things for two reasons, the gain of pleasure or the avoidance of pain. Those are the two reasons why people do something. Do you know that 99 point something of them won't do anything unless it's the avoidance of pain? Like you can't say, if you do this, you get this 10-day cruise to Alaska. Well, that's not going to get anybody to do it. But if you say, if you don't do this, you're going to lose your house, then people move into action. So negative thoughts are just the way of motivation in the world as we know it today. But here's where negative thoughts, remember what I said, they're naturally occurring, meaning natural is more not controlled by your education or your brain work. The reason why we say hungry, humble, smart, and coachable, and you can't delineate, well, I'm hungry. No, it's all four or none. But one of those is smart. And smart means being able to start to see when something is controlling you naturally or reactively versus on purpose. I have learned, like naturally behavior, my behavior is an IS. Well, the IS behavioral style was not getting me where I wanted to go. You don't necessarily change your behavioral style, but you can intellectually say, in this situation, I'm going to choose to act outside of my normal behavior, and it will be uncomfortable, but it will get me where I want to go. Okay. Dude, I'm not kidding you, Javier. I freaking love food. I'm Lebanese. Food is attached to everything. Every emotion is attached to food. My mom had diabetes, heart issues, cholesterol, blood pressure. She had it all. She died at 70. Okay. I'm 64. And my doctors still look at my mom's charts and go, you need this, you need that. I go, I do not need that. I'm not my mom. I'm 173 pounds. I do push-ups and sit-ups and squats and lunges every night. I play basketball. I play baseball. I'm not my mom. That's an intellectual decision to break the demon. Okay. Do I still love food? Yeah, I proved that yesterday. I went in and ordered a salad with a piece of salmon on top, but I still ended up eating 2 pieces of bread covered in butter. The demons will always take control unless you're smart enough to outsmart them. Seriously, like you have to say intellectually, like when the alarm went off this morning, I thought maybe I could, I started to rationalize, like I'm in bed and I'm like, no, I got to get up. I got too much to get done. But it was on like, used to be, I lived on 5.5, 6 hours sleep almost all the time. Well, now I refuse to, but my son was here. So we stayed up later chatting and everything. And I said, oh, I'm only going to get 6 hours sleep. But that's the thing, Javier, is there's demons much bigger than just sleep and food. Believe me, there are, and I have them, right? So, and I won't go into them here, but that I'm fighting with all the time. Stuff that the world has changed. I used to hug everybody, men, women, children, and now I'm much, much more high from a distance because the world's changed. They don't like it as much as they did back then. So all those demons, what keeps you? So notice them, Javier, right? Like, let me ask you, Javier, I respect you a lot because every time I see you got a shirt and tie on, right? That's a habit that you have created. And it's become a brand. Wouldn't you say that about yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you must get up some days and go, I don't really want to put a shirt and tie on, but you do. Mm-hmm. You get it? And remember what happened during COVID? Like the only thing I wore of my whole wardrobe of 57 basically I have 23 suits, 22 sport jackets, and 12 tuxedo jackets. And all I wore during COVID was a really nice shirt with Nike shorts and Nike sneakers on.
Mhm.
Only anybody saw that, right? I was like, oh, I'm getting comfortable with this. And remember, you get up in the morning and go, and don't tell me you guys didn't do this during COVID. You'd go, I just showered day before yesterday. I don't really need to shower today, right? Because nobody's going to smell me on Zoom. So, you know, and literally after we came out of that, I said, I got to get back to taking a shower every single day, sometimes twice a day, you know. So the demons, they come and go, but you have to outsmart them. You have to decide, what can I do? One of my demons, and I think I shared this with you guys before, but I used to go into negative thinking all the time. I had at one point, 6 alarms set on my phone, alarms a day that would go off with a song. And every time that song would go on, I would know it was a different song. I think I had 4 different songs for the 6 alarms. It would mean catch yourself being negative. Like, what state was I in? But the songs I used were the ones that would always make me be like happy. So I'd have to stop. My goal was when that alarm went off and that song came on, it was always one of the songs that make me want to like, when it came on, it was my reminder to check my mind. What was I thinking about? Was I in a negative place, you know, and readjust? So maybe you have to do that. Or you tell your wife, honey, I want you to call me, you know, every 2 hours on the hour and say, how you doing? You know, something like that. There's all kinds of them. I can't even imagine what your demons are for any of you, but whatever they are, they can be outsmarted. So
Okay.
thanks for the question, Manny.
Well, thank you for the advice. Thank you.
Javier, that was a good one. So, all right. Any last ones before we go, kids?
I actually just have one question. I've been trying to door knock for a while. I'm a new agent. I just started in June. I used to work in hospitality, and once the industry took a nosedive, I kind of reassessed and decided to go down a different path. I got my real estate license, and I tried door knocking. I do wear hijab. I am Muslim, so it felt a little bit difficult. I felt like people automatically assumed like maybe I didn't speak the language or whatever the case may be. But how do you get yourself to be able to accept the rejection, I guess? You know what I mean? Like, how do you put yourself every day in front of a camera and be able to be like, well, I'm going to do this? Because, you know, I'm a millennial. Everybody's on TikTok, and I've tried to do TikTok videos, but every time I try to post it, I'm like, this doesn't look great, or I don't sound great, or whatever the case may be. And it's just, that kind of like how you're talking about negative thinking always kind of stops me in my tracks. Even though I'm very personable, I was in the service industry for 10 years. I can talk with the best of them, but there's always like that negativity that you're talking about where I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't post it. So I have all these saved TikToks that I have yet to unleash because of how I feel.
Rick,
Yeah.
can I reply to that? Can I
Yeah, jump on it, Renee. Go ahead.
You know, I'm the same way. Like, I will put together a video, completely overthink it, and then just delete it. And you know, because it's, oh, I don't look right, or I put on weight, or people are gonna think this, or people are gonna think that. And then I just stopped, kind of like, you know what, forget it. I'm going to send it and forget it. Send it and forget it. And I did like 30 videos in a row privately. I didn't put them on Facebook or anything, but I did 30 big email, and I emailed them individually to my clients, or I did it on my phone. And I just got such a great, overwhelming, warm response, because they don't see you like you see yourself. And I think that, you
Say
know,
that last sentence again, really loud. They don't see you like you see yourself.
correct.
Very big, Renee.
So send them, put them out. You got the content now saved up, you know, once every Tuesday or every Monday or whatever timing you want to send them out, send them out. You're lucky. You got them set up. I deleted mine. I had to redo them, and they weren't that bad. I think the second ones were worse than the first, but they don't see you like you see yourself. So send them out.
And thank you, Renee. That was brilliant. Did you get some from that, Raham?
No, I did. Thank you.
So-
You're right. We are always overcritical of ourselves, and other people perceive us.
Yes,
And
and one of the things, and that
I
comes.
noticed you put in the comments, you know, that you've been door knocking for 3 months, but you feel like it's not being fruitful, and you're concerned with being Muslim. Maybe get a partner to come out there with you, partner with a lender, so that you can kind of go out there And, you know, I do a lot of door knocking too, and there is a lot of rejection, but, you know, if I can recommend one thing is the book Failing Forward.
Yeah.
Is, you know, for every no, you're getting closer to that yes.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, great comment, Renee. And Raham, my wife, this is second marriage for both of us, born and raised a Jehovah's Witness, started door knocking at 6 years old with her family. And when she was in her 30s, one of her friends convinced her to get into real estate. She'd been a massage therapist, a clinical esthetician, but still being a Jehovah's Witness and door knocking. And she gets basically the first ex-wife of her first husband. She was the second wife. Anyway, so my current wife was the second wife of this guy. So her and her husband got a divorce, but she had a great relationship with his first ex-wife, and they became good friends. And that friend convinced her to get into real estate. And then she went to, like, right when she got into real estate, she went to a class about door knocking. And like there was 30, 40 people in the class, and they said, she goes, "Oh, that's easy. I'm gonna go do that." And somebody pulled her aside and says, "Well, you're brand new. How are you yelling that door knocking is easy?" She goes, "I've been door knocking since I was 6 years old, trying to talk to people about the Bible. It's going to be a hell of a lot easier to talk to them about real estate. Trust me." And she said, "You learn about rejection so quick." And one of the examples that I had that was given to me by someone else was, how do you think the waitress feels when she comes up with a pot of coffee and says, "Would you like some coffee?" And you go, "No, I don't drink coffee." Do you think she goes back to the room and cries? Right? And when I got that example, it's kind of a ridiculous example, but when I got that, I thought, oh, it's actually a really good example, because it isn't about you. They just don't want your services. And I will say that because of all my sales training and the coaching I've received, is when you're worried about what is an objection to you, that's your objection to you, not theirs. Everything is a reflection of how you're feeling and thinking. All right. And because I've been a professional speaker for so long, doesn't mean I didn't take professional speaking classes. But when people all the time say, I'm a little nervous, I got to go give a speech today, I go, then you're not thinking about them. Don't you want to change their lives when you give your speech? Don't you want to impart value on them? They always say yes. And I said, if you're nervous or concerned, then you're thinking about you, not them. And that's the whole thing. It's not about what's good or bad or right or wrong as it relates to your video, about does it work in you being authentic, sincere, vulnerable, right? You stop being authentic, sincere, vulnerable when you say, oh, I want to change that. Well, no, what came out on that video is authentic, sincere, and vulnerable. It's the only way you know how to be. Okay. So I love that Renee said she did a lot of them. Bye, Renee. Thanks for being on, sweetie. I love that Renee said she did a lot of them, because she's like, I'm just going to send them out. When I miss phone appointments, I grab my phone, I type in their number into a text, and then instead of sending a verbal text, I hit record, and I just go, "Hey, I'm so sorry, I missed our call. Something came up," like that. And I get a lot more kind responses that way than I do if I'm just texting it. So go out there, be vulnerable, get rejected, and just remember you're an amazing person, and none of that means anything. So, all right. Okay. Well, I got to get on a 10 o'clock call on another Zoom.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. This is a really good discussion, and I really enjoyed everybody's participation. And Raham, have we met before on any other event?
No, actually, Vilia is the one that put me on to your calls. She was like, "This guy's great. You really need to hop on some of these calls and listen." She's my mentor over at EXP.
Okay, great. I just put my cell phone number in there. It's pretty public. You can Google my name and find my cell phone. But if you want to reach out, I'll tell you about other resources you can use. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. I got to bounce.
You
Take care.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.